Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about Banner of War. We have a build for you guys, we'll go into detail some of that stuff, but for one, I want to talk about Banner of War and kind of the flaw it highlights about Destiny 2 PvE right now. Now for one, I think this is a perfectly fine build if there were different circumstances. What I mean by that is different ways to play, and right now there really isn't. And I say that as a Titan, and this is probably in terms for Titans, and the reason I say that is because damage reduction is a goal in Destiny 2 that is starting to become a crutch in any single way. We had resilience being a crutch of being max resilience all the time. Now we have any form of damage resistance when it comes to Banner of War being procced, Woven Mail, we had Sol Invictus with Solar and Bonk Hammer and stuff like that. They've nerfed that. I still think it's effective, just not as egregious. All this different stuff. But the main problem with Banner of War is it highlights the flaw right now when it comes to content in Destiny being challenging. And I want to say that in a polite way because I understand that making things for Destiny, creating content for Destiny, all these different criteria we gotta hit is difficult and it's not easy. But at the same time, even though they technically did make steps with this with Season 23's update and some exotic reworks, we really need to find a way to kind of create content that is challenging, but not just on a damage level or on a level of, oh, there's a ton of ads, there's a lot of ghost stuff going on, I need to make sure I can survive and just take as much damage as possible. And that's kind of what's going on right now with Banner of War. For example, Warlord's Ruins dungeon, I think this is a phenomenal dungeon, does highlight some of that issue because it gets crazy, it gets hectic, and you need to survive. And if you're not using something like Banner of War as a Titan, and there are other things you could do for health regen on your Hunter, as well as your Warlock and stuff like that, it's just the same old rinse and repeat challenge that Bungie is presenting, just different areas, different styles of encounters and stuff like that. And I do want to see Bungie take steps to kind of bring different styles up to par or take a different approach to creating a challenge. And for a while, we've seen Bungie get better at this because champions were the #1 way to introduce a challenge into Destiny. And this handicapped your loadout, this handicapped obviously based on what season, because certain champions were affected by certain weapons. You need to make sure you put those mods on. Then mods became intrinsic, and then they added subclass debuffs to kind of stun champions in different ways. I think that's a right step for bouncing out champions, but we need to do a little bit more. What that is, well, I don't work at Bungie. I don't see the behind the scenes data with, survivability and stuff like that. Whatever the approach they're gonna take, I hope they're working on it. And that's all I can say on that regard, because something like Banner of War is something I'm gonna be using all season. That may get tiring, but that's the state of the game we're in. And I do hope, I pray that the work they're doing to lead us into the Final Shape and with the Final Shape expansion and beyond does keep in mind that the challenge of Destiny does need substantial work, and we need to find different ways to do that. Mini bosses, a little bit more of those, or mechanics to these mini bosses, whatever it may be. Just add some level of challenge that isn't about being a tank or having health regen spammed non-stop. But with that being said, let's go into the build that you guys want to have with Banner of War. Talk about the exotic, we'll talk about the loadout of choice, whatever it may be, so you guys get a good grasp. And important to mention, there will be a dim link in the pinned comment so you guys can pull this easily using dim, so you guys can use this in game right away. So that being said, let's jump into the game. Alright guys, here we are. I hope we take a moment to appreciate the drip. If you guys are satisfied with the drip, leave your comments down below. We all know that fashion is the true endgame of the Destiny 2 experience right now. But as you can tell, this is pretty much a cookie cutter Banner of War build. And even though they did some tweaks to Synthoceps, you're still going to want this because it, being surrounded buffs damage and it makes your super incredible. And then it also does some other cool stuff now because of some reworks. We added improved weapon handling and reload speed, which is nice, so you guys won't need your loader or your weapon of choice for this setup. Now we're going to talk about weapons real quick. We're using 2 strand weapons, or at least 1 strand, 1 solar, or a void. The reason I say that this is a void but also strand is we got a perm ability. This is a great perk in my opinion. I like this for this assault rifle because onslaught, final blows with this weapon increases the rate of fire. And then obviously with Synthoceps, stuff like that, you get really fast reload. We also have tactical mag. Yeah, This is incredible. This is an awesome weapon. We have a god roll video coming out soon on that. But we also are using this hand cannon. And then exotic of choice right now is Galley, your power weapon, tractor, whatever it may be, whatever you're going for in endgame or high content. Do what your preferred loadout choice is there, but Synthoceps is kind of the main crutch armor piece you want. So let's jump into subclass before we get into some of that armor mods. Now for our abilities, really important, we want the grapple grenade. This allows you to give an extra powered melee that is absolutely absurd. It is awesome, and I do think it is buffed by your Synthoceps, so that's even better. Now for aspects, we want Into the Fray. This is really important because Woven Mail is tied to regeneration for your melees, but as you can see, destroying a tangled or casting a super grants Woven Mail for nearby allies. While you have Woven Mail, your melee regeneration rate is increased, and this is great for our Frenzied Blade, which is a awesome powered melee and does come back pretty quick with Into the Fray and Woven Mail. And of course, like we've been talking about, Banner of War is a thing. Now, you can do different things like a Stronghold with this. I'm going for Synthoceps, but the main goal here is defeating a target with a melee attack, finisher, or sword to raise a Banner of War that pulses with energy, periodically healing nearby allies and increasing melee and sword damage. And the big buff here is our melee damage with Banner of War. On top of Synthoceps, targets defeated by you and your nearby allies charge the banner, increasing the speed of its pulses. This goes up to ×4, and the time it can stack up to is 30 seconds, which is a long time. They did nerf this in a way, as well as nerf Woven Mail, but none of that stuff is, in my opinion, less damning to it. Banner of War just isn't as ridiculous, which is nice for some of the complaints I've mentioned earlier. So for the fragments, really important, we want Thread of Generation. This will help regenerate our grapple grenade, which is important to our melee and doing damage. Dealing damage generates grenade energy, really important. Now, we also want Thread of Fury. Damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy, so you'll be seeing us throw this around. You get a lot of tangles because you're powered melees, and stuff with Strand will give you tangles. You're going to get a lot of tangles, and you're going to use this, and you're going to get your melee back very quickly. Next to that, we want Thread of Warding. If you feel comfortable taking this off, sure. This is just going to, increase the amount of Woven Mail you will always be having, so it makes it better and more consistent than, you having to proc it via other ways. But picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail. There's a -10 resilience to this, so that's unfortunate, and as you can tell, I'm not 100 right now, but it is what it is, and very solid. And next to that, we want Thread of Continuity. Your Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. If for whatever reason you guys want to just switch off of this, cool, but we're using Strand weapons, we're using our Sever effectively. I don't really want to, but that's just my personal take. But altogether, that's kind of what you want. But that's just the subclass. It's really important to mention the mods, so let's jump out and check that out. So for the headgear, we are going to want, hands-on. This is really, really important. The other ones kind of cater to just other stuff like the siphons, but hands-on is really important because you gain bonus super energy on melee kills. You're doing a lot of meleeing. You're creating a lot of orbs, which we'll showcase soon with the other mods. And you can use your super, which in this case with Synthoceps, Banner of War is a really effective super to be using in the game. Now, next to that, Synthoceps, we are going to be wanting Heavy Handed. Your power melee final blows create orbs of power. And we want Impact Induction. Causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. That grapple grenade is important. It's effective tactic. It makes this build even better, and it gives you more power to your melee, which is what Titans do. We punch things. It's that simple. For our chest piece, we have kind of Solar Reserves, because we're using Galahorn, and a Void resistance of your choice, or any resistance of your choice. In a perfect world, you'll probably just run Charge Up. I want to see them add new mods for chest armor. There's nothing juicy here. It's kind of bare bones, simple reserves and resistance. Charged Up is fine. Gives you a little extra armor charge with another mod. Could be effective if you guys get, a lot of armor charges before finishing, but we're low-key spoiling something, so let's shut up there. Now, for our leg armor, we have 2 invigorations, and we have a Strand weapon surge at the time because, making my auto rifle a little bit better. You can do other surges. You can do elemental charge. You can do stacks on stacks if you get the window to do that. Whatever it may be, your personal preference on that last mount saw is important, but these two invigorations is important. Hey, hell, maybe throw 3. The benefits, I forget, definitely reduce a lot more than the second one, but hey, You want to be a nut job? Be my guest. Add 3 of those invigorations. And then for our mark, we have 1 time dilation and we have explosive finisher. The reason why we want this is because we're going to be getting armor charges with our power melees, which helps us with our melee regeneration and our grenade regeneration. Doing finishers also procs Banner of War, so this kind of solidifies and kind of completes the synergy of what we are doing, so it makes sense to have that here. You could do melee, 1-2 finisher, but at the same time, woven mail and other stuff, you're getting your melee back really fast, so nothing too crazy, but that's pretty much the mods you want. And if you guys care for your mods right now, honestly, I'm still kind of like, messing around. If you're using a solar weapon, kindling, trigger, and flint striker work on different subclasses as long as you're using a solar weapon. Unraveling orbs is great. Picking up orb power grants strand weapons unraveling rounds. So if you're using strand weapons like myself, awesome. We also have Dragon's Bite. Breaking a combatant shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze. This is nice. Not too effective, but messing around, this is nice. And then we also have Port Shuttle. Damaging unraveling targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a thread link, so it's a great way for using strand weapons to kind of spam all that good, as you could say, strand power. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say in game. Let's jump out and give you guys my closing thoughts. I know I rambled on a little bit, and I know I may sound a little sick because I am, but yeah. This Banner of War build is something you Titans should have in your loadout just to kind of give you guys a cheese endgame build that is effective in practically everything. It makes your life easier, it makes the content much easier, or at least doable in certain cases. Yes, if you have skill in certain regards, or you have a very niche, but like let's say you're still doing bonk hammer, you can be perfectly fine and effective. But at the same time, just Banner of War is the Titan meta. Like, that's the one thing you should have and should be doing in most forms of content. And play how you want. If you guys want to use this build, want to be effective, be my guest. But like I said, I recommend having this. You're going to be a very powerful Titan, and you're going to make content at least doable in certain cases. But with that being said, leave your thoughts down below on Banner of War. Do you guys want to see like more changes done to builds? Again, like, I'm not saying we need to nerf Banner of War. I think we just need to approach challenging content differently from a Bungie side. We have lots of requests by Bungie, and hopefully now they're listening, or at least their higher ups are telling their devs, okay, you can do what you guys have been hearing because we're getting shitted on here. Whatever it may be, hopefully Bungie does the right thing in that regard. But altogether, Banner War is fun. I'm practically rocking it all the time. It is it's a thing. It's a thing, especially as a Titan. I'm rocking it all the time because it just makes sense. And it does Titan things. But altogether, that's practically all I have to say on this one. If you guys enjoyed this video and found this video informative, definitely be sure to drop this video a like. Helps out the video a ton. And for more content from me, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell to be notified for when I do drop more content, whether that's Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, or even Call of Duty, whatever it may be. There's tons of content on the way, as well as shorts. If you guys have seen those, supporting those, giving those a like, I greatly appreciate those. Whatever support you guys give, man, I am grateful. Let me tell you, I am super grateful for you guys that watch, support, subscribe. It really does mean a lot, even though it's 3,000 subscribers. To me, that's still an insane number. And every time I go up subscribers, it just even more crazier. But I think I babbled on a little bit too much, so I hope you guys have a good one. ShadowNinja here, and I'm out.